Okay, good morning all. So I'll start the class with your confirmation. So regarding the audio and screen visibility. So please confirm so that I can start with the class. So I'm repeating, please confirm whether you're able to see so the rule-based classifier displayed on the screen and also the audio clarity is clear. You can just confirm with a yes. Okay. So I was discussing about rule-based classifier. Prior to that, what you need to understand is what exactly we are doing in this module. See, you need to have a recap of it so that you can get the required connectivity. So if you lose the connectivity when we are progressing towards different concepts, so really you will get confused. So to avoid that situation, just I will recap what exactly we are doing and then try to establish a logical link between the next topics that will be covered in this session. So we are in module 4 and we understood what is the objective of module 4. See, the objective in module 4 is you have records in the database. Okay. You may get new records added to the database on a regular basis. Okay. Our fundamental objective here is we need to classify those records. Okay. We need to distinguish the records based on some criteria. Okay. So that criteria itself will become the different classes that you understood in the previous discussions. So we will have different classes, class A, class B, class C. You will be giving the class labels because the classifier cannot create it. So the data analyst will be giving the class labels, so the names of the class. So I need to build a classifier model which will take the input records, as you can see here. It will take the input records and what it needs to do. So this classifier should decide whether this record belongs to class A, class B, class C. Okay, so that is the role of a classifier. Take the input record and decide to which class that record should belong. Now, how the classifier will decide on this? See, classifier is an automated system. Okay, it's a sophisticated algorithm, but it cannot do this on its own. We understood it is supervised, meaning that you need to give some training to the classifier. So without training, a classifier cannot work. It cannot do the task on its own. Task of what? Classifying the record into any of the classes. Okay. So how you will give the training? How you will build the model for a classifier? So we saw two ways of doing it. One was the decision tree. So this was the very first model that we discussed as part of module 4. Okay. So we understood how a decision tree is constructed. We understood we will use some existing data, that is historical data related to that application. Based on the existing data or historical data, we will construct a hierarchical tree. A tree will be constructed. In a tree, we will have root nodes, intermediary nodes, and the leaf nodes, which will be the class label. So the root node and intermediary nodes will perform as decision makers in deciding upon which branch of the tree the control should be taken. Okay. So these were the things we had discussed with respect to decision tree. So decision tree was one way of building a classifier model. So this was discussed. So as I keep on repeating, there is not always one way of doing things or one way of solving a problem or one way of trying to achieve a solution. Many ways will be there. So we explored one more way of doing it, that was rule-based classifier, meaning that you can build a classifier model. So by defining some rules, so that is the first point. Second point is how you will define those rules, how the rules will be constructed. So the plan is similar to the decision tree. What we will do is we will take the historical data that is available, previous observations that were available with respect to that application. Okay. So if it is a medical application, maybe a patient data. If it is building a student related application, student records. Okay. So please understand the historical data or observations that were previously obtained will be taken by the classifier, and these observations will be used to construct the rules. Okay, so we understood what is a rule. We saw the general form of a rule. So a rule will have a rule number, so that was discussed. So a rule will have a rule number and condition. So you'll have a condition towards the left hand side, and towards the right hand side you have a class label. So this was a general form. We explored a few more aspects of this particular general form. I hope you have gone through all those contents for a better understanding of this session and further sessions. Okay. So the point to be noted here is a rule-based classifier works based on rules. Okay, you need to build rules, you need to construct rules based on the previous observations, historical data. Okay, these rules will decide to which class the new record that you are giving will go and set. Okay, so we try to solve few issues the rule-based classifier will experience. So one of the issues was conflicting rules. So what is a conflicting rule? We explored in the previous session, and solutions for it was also explored. So a conflicting rule is when a record triggers two different rules. It can do it, no problem, but if the rules are pointing to different classes, so now it's a conflicting rule, because now it will be difficult for the classifier to decide to which class this record should go and set. Okay. So this was a problem statement. This was the issue. This was a challenge for the classifier, and there is a solution for this. Okay, what was the solution? That is what we explored in the previous class. The solution was either we will have a mechanism on the rule, or we will have a mechanism on the class. Okay. So what was the mechanism on the rule? So that is what we saw in the form of an ordered rule. So what we will do here is we will rank the rules based on priority. Okay. So you can see here 5 rules were there. Rule 1 has been declared as a high priority rule, and rule 5 has been declared as a low priority rule. Now the question is based on what criteria it was done. So inside a rule, what will be there? So there will be attributes and values. We saw that in the general form. A rule will have attributes and values. So the attributes which are of high preference, high priority, so highly significant attributes, important attributes. Okay. So if those attributes are present in the rule, so obviously the rule will be declared as a high priority rule. So once again I'm repeating. If a rule has a high priority attribute, okay, so that rule will become a high ranking rule. So rules which have low priority attributes means attributes which may not be significant with respect to this application. Okay. So that will become low priority. Now, will this help resolve the conflict or issue? Yes, definitely. You give a new record, the same situation. So now this new record will be taken to class A in this situation, because rule 1 is having high priority. So this problem was resolved in these lines. Okay, we saw this is not the best way of doing it, because we need a huge amount of computation here to check with the attributes related to the rule and stuff. So we have one more way, unordered rule. We will use a voting mechanism. What was the voting mechanism here? We will try to see so the number of classes this record is triggering. Okay, for example, in this case, you can see record 1 is triggering 2 instances of class B, and in this case, it's only 1 instance of class A. So what is the maximum number here? 2. So the classifier will decide that this record should go and sit inside class B. Now, based on what criteria it decided? Because the voting number of votes to class B was 2, the number of votes to class A was 1. So we had discussed this in detail in the previous session. Now, what is the benefit of this unordered rule? The benefit is you need not worry about finding the importance of the attributes, values, and then deciding on the priority for the rules, so that computation is avoided. So this was the unordered rule. Next, we saw a few more ways of rule ordering, that is size ordering. So as the name is indicating, here the metric is the number of attributes with a rule. Okay. So more the number of attributes with the rule, that rule will become high priority. Less number of attributes, low priority. So that is a belief system here in this mechanism, size ordering. Okay. So more number of attributes, high priority. For example, rule 3 with 11 attributes, so high priority. Rule 1 with 3 attributes, low priority. We also understood this is not the best way of doing it because what is the reason? See, even if rule 1 is having only 3 attributes, there is a possibility one of the attribute that is present inside the rule may be a very important, very significant attribute related to that application. So this is not the best way of doing it. So that is what we understood in the previous class. That was our analysis. So until now, the discussion was related to ordering the rules based on maybe priority, based on voting, based on the number of attributes. Now we are exploring a different platform. The platform in this case is class. Okay. So you may have 2 or 3 classes, 4 or 5 classes, or 10 or 15 classes, depending on the application. Which class is of high importance? Okay. So that will be declared as high priority class. The class with low importance, a low priority class. Okay. So if the conflicting situation arises, like you can see here, record is pointing to, this record is triggering two rules, R1, R4, R1 pointing to class 1 and R4 pointing to class 4. Now the confusion for the classifier here is, where shall I put this record? Is it in class 1 or class 4? Please remember, it is not possible to put a record into both the classes. It's not possible. Okay. You cannot obtain first class and distinction at the same time. Okay, it can be either first class, either second class, or a fail category. Okay. In similar lines, a record can only go and sit inside one single class. Now, how this conflict is resolved? So, in this specific situation, what the classifier will do? So, it will take this record and it will push this record to class 1. Now, how this decision was made? So, the answer is simple. This decision was made based on the priority of the class. Okay, since class 1 had high priority. Okay, so it was a clear winner here. Okay, so record 1 so will be pushed to class 1. So these were the things we had seen in the previous class. Also, we saw one more aspect for priority. This was already discussed, so I did not cover that in detail. So if you have 5 rules, and in those 5 rules, 2 rules are conflicting. Okay, R2, R4. Okay, so which rule will be given the importance? So we saw that. Okay, it is based on the priority. How priority is computed? We even explored that priority is computed based on the weightage of the attribute that is present in a rule. So all those things were explored, so I did not cover that in detail. So we had a summary here. So this was topic of 4, where we understood how a rule-based classifier works, what are the challenges it will experience, and what are the solutions for those challenges. So all those things were explored. Now coming to the next topic, topic 5. Okay. See, in the previous topics, we just assumed that the rule has been constructed, okay, based on the previous observations or historical database. Okay, but how it is done, nowhere that part was touched upon. We did not see how the classifier is building the rules, what method it is using, what mechanism it is using. We only explored that a classifier will build a rule based on previous observation. And if conflict arises, what happens? That is what we saw in the previous module. Previous topic. So here we will try to explore how exactly a rule is constructed. Okay. So this will be the fundamental, basic starting point for it. Okay. So if a rule needs to be constructed, so you need a data set with attributes. Okay. So we need a data set with attributes. So going to the problem that I had given in internals, we need to identify whether a student belongs to MIT or he's an outsider. So 2 classes were there. One class A is MIT student and class B is outsider. Okay. Now, how you could distinguish a person as a MIT student or an outsider? So we need attributes for the data. Okay. And the sad part is none of the majority of the students, I think only I saw few instances where it was rightly done. Majority of the students have not even identified basic attributes. Okay. And clues were introduced in the question, like I had informed, it was on Monday, meaning that students will be in uniform. So those were the clues you need to extract. So we will utilize that example for this, for the understanding of this part of the topic. Okay. Now, my requirement is I need to decide whether a student belongs to MIT, okay, or he is an outsider. Okay, outsider. I'll mark it by O. So MIT. This is class A. This is class B. Okay. So students of MIT will go into class A and outsiders will go into class B. Okay. Now, I had given in the question some 20 students. Okay. Okay. So now how you uniquely identify each student? Okay. What are the properties or characteristics of a student in this context? Okay. So those are the attributes. So attributes are what? In this context, the attributes are maybe ID card, uniform, color of the uniform. So those will be the attributes. Okay. So what I mean to say here is your rule-based classifier will construct the rules using the data set with attributes. Okay. And using the data set with attributes, it will try to create a correlation between the class level. For example, if you have not understood what I told you now, once again, you can go back to the example that I just now stated. Okay. My requirement was to identify whether a person who was caught by the surveillance camera belongs to MIT or he is outside. Okay. Now, the requirement here is the classifier should establish a relationship between the attributes of that person and the class MIT. Okay. So the relationship should be established. So what is that relationship? So we have defined for the class MIT, we have defined the person should be wearing an ID card. Okay, he should be in uniform in these specific colors. Okay, so if that person has those attributes which is matching with the class label, okay, so then the rule will be satisfied and that person will be put into that specific class. So the bottom line here is rule-based classifier works based on the attributes of a data. Okay. It will take the attributes of the data. It will check whether those attributes relate to the class under consideration. Okay. For example, it will see class A, class B, class C. Now you consider the rule-based classifier has taken a record R. Okay. It will check whether the attributes of this record R, okay, is matching with the attributes of this class A. Okay. That attributes that qualify for a record to be in class A. So it will check this. That is what I mean by relationship that I have written here. Okay. If there is a match, so this record will go and sit inside class A. Okay. So this is the detailed explanation you will find in the textbook. I have summarized it with an example as I usually do. Okay. So with this understanding, try to read the detailing that is there in the textbook with respect to the method for extracting classification rule. Things will be clear. I mean, still we have not gone into the methods. Okay. We saw a few basic aspects of it. Now, once again, how this relationship will be established, okay, between the attributes and the class level, how it will be done. Okay. So we have two ways of doing it. One is direct method. Okay. Second one is indirect method. Now, what is direct method? So you can see I have written a brief statement here, which is a summary of an elaborated paragraph. So direct method extracts the rules directly from the data. That's it. A very simple concept. Okay. So we have raw data. From the data, rules will be directly constructed. Okay. Now, what is indirect? So indirect means from the raw data, you are not directly constructing the rules. There is something in between. You try to understand direct method. Okay, so this is my raw data. Okay, I will mark by D. Okay, this is my raw data. I have put a circle and I have written D. It means it's a raw database. Directly from this raw database, if you start building the rule, that is R1, R2, R3. Okay, so from the raw database, if you directly start constructing the rules, if you means the classifier, okay, it is direct method. So it's very simple. Okay. So try to keep it as simple as possible. Okay. Then only your level of understanding the concept and remembering the concept, so will be simplified. Now, what is indirect then? Same situation. Okay, so I have a database. This is my database. I want the rules. I want R1, R2, R3 to be constructed. Okay. In direct, I saw there was a direct straight line. There was a direct line between the database and rule. In indirect, this will not be the case. That's it. So there is some other entity introduced between the database and rules. Okay. So something else is sitting in between. Okay. So this something else that I just now told will take the database, okay, and convert it into an intermediary form. And from this intermediary form, the rules will be constructed. So that's it. So this is the difference between direct method and indirect method. We will explore it further. Okay, you have a few methods as examples which will do this. Now, first we will take up the direct method for rule extraction. Okay. So as I rightly mentioned, this is the example that is there in the textbook. This is you need to build a classifier. You need to build a rule-based classifier to be more specific. Okay. So what this rule-based classifier should do? It should differentiate between the positives and negatives. That's it. Okay. So whether the data object is carrying a positive value or a negative value. So that is the task of this classifier. Okay. Now, as already mentioned, what is a direct method? Direct method means the classifier will directly take the database or data set. You can see here, directly it is taking the data set and building rules out of it. It is building the rules R1, R2, R3. Okay. Now, what these rules can do? These rules can distinguish positive record, okay, from a negative record. So if it is a positive record, it will be pushed into class Y in my example, and if it is a negative record, it will go and sit inside class Z. So this was a direct method. Once again, I'm repeating. In the direct method, the classifier will build the rules directly from the database, and these rules can help us distinguish the data to different classes. Okay. Now we have many algorithms, many methods, many mechanisms to do this. And as part of your syllabus, you have this, the sequential covering algorithm. Okay. So sequential covering algorithm is a direct method. Once again, I'm repeating, it is a direct method. You can see here. Okay. So we are under the first section there, direct method for rule extraction. And many algorithms are there. So your syllabus is focusing on this algorithm, sequential covering algorithm. Okay. Now, what this algorithm will do, what is its basic objective, we are clear. So, this algorithm should construct rules directly from the database. And these rules should help us classify a record among different classes. Okay, this is the basic thing. And it's common to all algorithms. Okay. Now, how sequential covering algorithm will work? Okay, so basics of it I have written here, but I'm sure you will not understand this. Instead, directly we'll go to the algorithm. You have the algorithm as part of your syllabus. Okay, I'll explain the algorithm. After that, you try to revisit all these points that are written here. Things will be clear. I can assure you about that. So I feel the best way is directly going to the algorithm instead of studying theoretical points related to it. Algorithm is very simple and interesting. So algorithm is there in the next page. Yes, this is the algorithm. Now, what is the first step in the algorithm? See, one more point you should observe: the database will be used for training. Okay, meaning that this sequential covering algorithm is a supervised classifier. It is building a supervised classifier. So the database that was there from which rules are constructed. Okay, so that database is a previous observation, historical data. Now, the author who has, demonstrated this algorithm has used a few notations. We need to understand this. Okay. So all the training records that are present will be labeled as E. He has labeled it as E. It is not like you should only use E. You can use any variable there. I have demonstrated this algorithm with the example. You can see here. Okay. This is my database. This is my database. Database or data set, all are same. Do not get confused. So this is my database or data set. What is there in a database? You're aware of. It is a collection of records or tuples. Okay. Assume some 10 records are there. Each and every record has been labeled as E1, E2, E3. Why I have labeled it as E1, E2, E3? Because the author in the algorithm he has specified, let E be the training records. So let E be the training records. So I have taken few records in the database, I have labeled it as E1, E2, E3 up to En. So if 10 records are there, it will stop at E10. Okay. Now, what the author has specified. You are aware of a record being identified. How a record is identified? So a record is identified by attributes. For example, if it is a student record, he will be identified by attributes like name, USN, maybe email ID, mobile number. So in those lines, each and every record will have an attribute. So the author has labeled the attribute as A. Okay, he has labeled it as A. Okay. So I have carried the same, I have done the same thing. You can see multiple attributes can be there, many attributes can be there. So I have labeled it as A1, A2, A3. So the thing is, this is a database. This is a historical data. These are previous observations that were there with respect to those specific application for which we are building a classifier. Okay. Now we will take this database, we will take this data set. Each and every record in the data set, we will label it as E. E means E1, E2, E3. Okay. Each and every attribute, which is nothing but the columns, we will label it as A1, A2, A3 up to AN. Okay. So that is what we have done in the starting steps. Also, one more thing we can see. Attribute is not a standalone component. Attribute will have a value. What is the value? How you distinguish with attribute? Take an example. Okay, so name equal to Anil. Okay, so name is the attribute, Anil is the value. So name is A, Anil is B. You take the previous example that we discussed. ID card, student wearing ID card. So ID card is the attribute is equal to yes or no is the value. So please understand the context. Okay. So values will be appropriate to the context where the attribute has been identified. Okay. So one more new knowledge information for you, that is the algorithm will be identifying the attribute with the label A and value with the label V. And since there can be many attributes, many values, so you introduced iterative representation, that is J. Now, go to the second step of the algorithm. In the second step, you can see the classes. Okay. So from the beginning of this module, we are saying it is not like one or two classes. There can be many classes. So that is what the author has specified. Let the classes be y1, y2, y3, y4 up to yk. There can be n number of classes. Okay. So and all the classes have been put inside flower braces, and he has labeled it as y naught. Okay. So y naught is a representative of all the classes. So this was step 2. Coming to step 3 in the algorithm. Now, what is the objective of this algorithm? Please remember, try to recap. We are discussing sequential covering algorithm. Okay. The objective of this algorithm is constructing rules. Rules from where? From the records, training records. Okay. So that is being indicated in step 3. You can see. In step 3, you can see the algorithm wants to construct the rules for which it needs to do some initialization. So it has labeled the rules with uppercase R. You can see. If you remember, we had even seen this in the general form. Is equal to empty flower braces. It's an initialization. Like for example, in C programming, you have seen when you declare a variable, you will initialize it sometimes, maybe to a 0. For example, int a equal to 0. Something like that. You can remember in those lines. Okay. So third line is indicator of the algorithm initializing a procedure for constructing the rules. Okay. So we have a new label here, R for rules. Okay. Now coming to step 4 and step 5. Okay. Please note, in step 4 we have a for loop, and in step 5 we have a while loop. So both are iterative. Okay. So please do not get confused what is happening. Okay. So the outer for loop is taking a class. You can see here. Okay. So from the list yk, please understand, from the list yk, okay, so the outer for loop will take a class y and it belongs to y naught. So that is a meaning here. Meaning that in the first iteration, the for loop will take y1. In the second iteration, it will take y2. Third iteration, it will take y3. So what you understood from this? So the message you have here is the sequential covering algorithm is working on a class by class basis. Okay. So first it is taking class 1. It is building the rules for class 1. Next it is taking class 2, building the rules for class 2. So please try to understand it is progressing in this manner. Okay. So the outer for loop is taking the classes and it will enter, and the while loop that you are seeing inside will build the rules for that specific class. Okay, I'll try to explain with examples. If you're not clear, no problem. Okay. Now, I will take my first class y1. Okay. So this is the first iteration of the for loop. So with the class y1, the for loop will enter. So my objective now is to build rules for the class y1, so that the classifier can identify the records which belong to class y1. Okay. So my objective now is to build rules for the class MIT students. Okay. The reason is I want to identify whether this person belongs to MIT or he is an outsider. Okay. So now I will take MIT class. Okay, so now I entered into the first iteration of for loop. So with this first iteration, I will enter into the while loop. So already I told you what is the objective of this while loop. For the class under consideration. Now what is the class? Y1. Okay, so for the class under consideration, we need to identify the rules. That's it. Okay, so this is my classifier. Okay, so for taking a record to class Y1, what are the rules? Okay, R1, R2, R3. So that will be constructed by the while loop that you are seeing inside. Okay. Now, how the while loop will do this, we will try to explore. Okay. So there is a function called as learn one rule. Okay. What this function will do? This function is taking three attributes. Okay. So I think you can identify those three parameters. Okay. Once again, I'm repeating. While loop is building the rules using a function learn one rule. Okay. This function is taking three parameters as input. And you are familiar with these three parameters as of now at this point of time. What are those three parameters? You know what is E. E is the training records. Okay, you know what is A. A is the attributes of those training records. And what is Y? Y is the class under consideration. Now, since we are in the first iteration of for loop, the class under consideration is Y1. Okay. So now what will happen inside this while loop? So how this learn one rule function works, you do not have that. So no need of worrying about this. Now we will assume that the learn one rule has constructed a rule. Okay. Now it will be put inside this list R. You can see the arrow mark here. Okay. For example, if three rules could be identified, so the while loop will iterate for 3 times, and if the while loop is not able to find other rules, it will terminate. That's it. Okay. So please note down the while loop will run. The number of iterations the while loop will run will be based on number of rules that can be constructed. Okay. So if the while loop can construct 3 rules, it will run 3 iterations. 4 rules, 4 iterations. If not, it will terminate. Okay. Now once the while loop terminates, okay, see it is not going to the second iteration of for loop. It is doing some other things here. In step 7 and 8, please note what is that. So remove the training records from E covered by this rule. Okay, meaning that if 10 records were there, and in those 10 records, okay, so record 1 and record 5 were, I think, yeah, written this. It's there here.